Well, good day, everybody. My name is Marc Dube. I'm a product support engineer for Bell. I'm really happy to be here with you guys today for the Bell Light and Intermediate Aircraft Technical Update. Hope you guys enjoy. So we'll first start with discussing the Bell technical support, and then we'll go through each aircraft model, so the 206 series, 407 series, 505, and we'll finish with the 429. So let's start with our technical support. Our customer service engineers, so as CSEs, or also known as field reps. We have more than 50 CSEs located around the world, separated into 5 big regions, so North America, Latin America, Middle East and Africa, Europe, and Asian Pacific. So these guys should be your first point of contact at Bell. Why? Because they are local, they're available to go on site as required if you need anything with your Bell aircraft. They'll help with technical questions, tech pub, warranty, parts. They're available 24/7. They're all experienced technicians with lots of experience on Bell products. They'll also assist in case if you buy a new aircraft, they'll assist with the new ship delivery process, so which is basically an inspection on your aircraft and making sure that it is like you want. More specific to Canada, we have 5 CSEs in Canada. We have Aaron McMahon, Sego Matsubara. These guys are covering Western Canada. We have Mike Doucette, which is more Central Canada. Simon Tremblay, who's more Eastern Canada. And then we have Walter Watton, who covers the Atlantic region or Atlantic province. Product support engineering, so PSEs, who we are, we're comprised of field experience licensed AMEs or AMPs with various backgrounds. So we have backgrounds on the mechanical side, but we also have avionics and structure guys. We'll provide also support 24/7, 365 days a year. To our customers. Who are our customers? Well, owners, operators, and maintainers of Bell product, but also Bell facilities, Bell employees, and our CSEs. We can be reached out via phone or email, and you also have the ability to send any inquiries via our MyBell portal, so if you have access to that. If you do use the email or the MyBell portal, what you'll get is a tracking number from our customer relationship management system. So basically a case number and a reference ID for any communication that may happen within this specific case or issue that you have. On occasion, we'll go on site and we'll provide support with our CSE as required. The big difference between a CSE and a PSE is that the CSE will cover all aircraft model, so all Bell aircraft model, where the product support engineer, so the PSE, will be more specific to some models and even more into some specific systems. So hum support, for example, or track and balance, or you can have an avionic. Obviously, they'll help with every issues with Garmin stuff, and so on. So product support engineering, our locations around the world. We actually have 3 locations around the world. We have our military PSEs in Fort Worth. They've been there since 1968, and they provide support to all military aircraft around the world. We have our PSEs in Mirabel since 1987, and we provide support to all commercial aircraft around the world. We also have PSEs in Singapore. These guys have been there since 2018. And what they do, they provide direct support to Asian and European customers for commercial aircraft during their business hours, but they'll also provide support to North America customers while we are actually at nighttime. So product support engineering, our light and intermediate organization. We have our senior manager, so Winston McKinney, who's in charge of all product supports. We have Mr. Daniel Lajoie, who's the supervisor for the light and intermediate aircrafts. We also have what we call product leads. These guys are the liaison between the field and the program side. So any issues that may happen in the field, all ASBs and bulletins and stuff like that, these guys are really in charge of that. We have one each specific to the models that are still in production, and we have a guy that's covering all legacy aircrafts. We also have the three guys here that are located in Singapore, and the other guys that are located in Mirabel. So our goal, like a colleague would say, at the end of the day, PSC works in unison with the CSE to provide a rapid response to our customers on various technical issues. So AOG support, any parts applicability, tech manual clarification, electrical troubleshooting, track and balance, rigging, name it, we provide support for anything that's technical. How can you contact us? We have the 1-800 number, or we also have, if you're local, the 450 number. We also have the product support at Bellflight email address. This is how you contact the PSEs. And if you want to contact any CSEs, or you don't know who's your CSE in your region, what you can do is you can go on the bellflight.com website under the support and contact support tab. Well, you have a map with all CSEs specific to your region with their contact information. So feel free to go under the bellflight.com website to find who's your local CSE. 206 series aircraft. So I won't go through all the numbers, but here's a few points that I want to highlight. We have just a little bit over 6,600 206 series aircraft that have been manufactured. The last 206 P3 that was manufactured is in 2010. Some of the highest time aircraft on the 206 AB series, we have an aircraft that's a little bit over 38,000 hours. And on the 206L series, we have an aircraft that's a little bit over 41,000 hours, which is quite significant. Alert service bulletins, ASBs. So the ASB in regards to the inspection of the main rotor pitch link assembly. So although we didn't receive any field reports, we do have concerns about the possibility of the pitch link tube insert debonding. So these inserts here. So there's really two parts in the ASB. First part is what you want to do is a one-time detailed visual inspection of the pitch link tube, and then you want to apply a witness mark like showing here. And that has to be done within 100 hours or 3 months. And also the part two is we're introducing a recurrent inspection every 300 hours or 12 months. For, again, the inserts here, what you want to do is you want to look for on the upper and lower insert, you want to look for crack paint, crack sealant, and corrosion. And then if you suspect any disbonding of the insert, what we'll ask you to do, this is not in the ASB, but what we'll ask you to do is a proof load test, just to confirm if it is or if it's not disbonding. You'll need to contact PSCs for all details of that check, obviously. And there was a small revision on the 206A that was done for the helicopters affected section for including additional serial numbers. So this specific ASB is affecting the 206, 206L, 505, 407, and also the 427 aircraft. ASB for inspection of main rotor blade grip, plate, and root end doublers. So we have received reports of main rotor blade with excessive disbond of the root end doubler plates. The disbonding is caused by reformulation of the adhesive, so improper surface preparation before putting the adhesive primer. It only affects specific serial numbers of blade that you can find in the table 1 of the ASB. So first thing you'll have to do is a serial number check within 100 hours or 90 days. And then you'll have to do a visual inspection of the bond lines between the doubler, grip plate, and the skin. You'll use a 3x magnifying glass. You'll check for dark lines, excessive alkyl bleed out, cracks, edge void. And this is a recurrent inspection for affected blades every 100 hour or 12 months. Specific stations that we want to look at is from station 15 to station 58. So on the upper and lower surface of the blade, and also inspect the trailing edge and the leading edge of the blade for cracks between the doublers. ASB for the segmented tail rotor drive shaft with bonded adapter and proof load test. So we have received reports of this of the bonded adapter on the segmented tail rotor drive shaft. So obviously, if this bonding occurs, this can result in loss of tail rotor drive, and also loss of control of the helicopter in some occasion. So what you want to do is a visual inspection of the bond lines. So this section here, and you want to use a 10x magnifying glass. Want to check for damaged bond line, crack, missing adhesive, corrosion, and then you want to do a proof load test, which I'll cover with the next slide. There was a revision A to the ASB, which allows replacement of failed bonded drive shafts. So if you have one that fails, with a serviceable bonded shaft. And it also updated the affected aircrafts. Revision B, what it does, it introduces a new work aid specific to the 206 L1, L3, and the 206 L4 aircraft, which I'll discuss on the next slide. Revision C was just a small clerical error. So the proof load test itself, what you want to do is you want to use a special tool, work aids that are in the ASB, and you want to put one of those adapter forward all cooler blower sliding flange, so on that one, and then you want to put the other adapter here on the aft face of the sliding adapter of the tail rotor input pinion. On this side, you'll put your torque wrench. On the other side, you'll put a breaker bar, and then you'll do a proof load test at 123 foot-pound. If the proof load test fails, obviously you'll need to, the tail rotor drive shaft is deemed unrepairable, so you'll have to replace it. It's scrap, basically. You can replace just one segment, and you can intermix the bonded drive shaft with the riveted drive shaft. However, if you do that, you'll need to install the rotor brake disc. One thing also you want to do after your proof load test, you actually want to go back and look at the bond lines of your shaft, make sure that everything's okay there. Now, specific to the 206 L1 and L3, which have the SI 2052 accomplished, and the 206 L4 from serial number 52001 up to 52223. Those aircraft are equipped with a different adapter. So the roll spline adapter here is a little bit different. So because of that, you have a few options here. You have either you can use an alternate location to put your tool. So under the oil tank, you'll put your tool there instead of in front of the firewall. But you got to be careful not to damage your oil tank or your aircraft deck because it's a tight spot. Other option is to use a different adapter. So another part number of adapter where the tool will fit on. Or also in revision B of the ASB, we have an additional work aid that you can locally manufacture, which is just made out of an aluminum steel bar, which will work with this different adapter. 206 series operational safety notice, so the OSN. We have one here with the Rolls-Royce M250 engine, so maintenance warning of external lines. This one has been out for a while, and we have a revision A, and it's a cover OSN just to achieve the complete distribution of the Rolls-Royce CSLs. Obviously, Rolls-Royce is highly involved in the accident and incident investigation, and a lot of times it prompts to external line maintenance, improper maintenance of those external lines. So improper alignment, clamping, torquing, or general condition of the engine tubing during installation. The CSLs have various examples of bent, fretting, dent, misaligned, corroded, broken, and so on tubes. So there's a lot of image, a lot of good information in there, which is why we have a covered OSN to prompt owners, operators, and maintainers to go see this CSL. Also take note that we have in the OSN, there's a decal that can be installed, and the decal is installed per the maintenance manual or a TB, depending on the model that's affected. And the decal is actually says that failure to properly install, align, and torque fuel, oil, and air tube and fittings, it could result in an engine failure. So again, this is related to accident and incident investigation. 206 series information letter. So the introduction of the throttle cable assembly 1608-750-001. So this is a new cable assembly. This is for all owner and operators of 206L, L1, L3, L4, but also the 407 analog, GX, and GXP. So we have seen several reports of throttle cable failure. The majority of those occur at the bend radius under the pilot seat. So in this area here. The primary symptom of a bad cable will be an increase in stiffness, requiring additional force to move your throttle in various positions. The ones that we've seen fail happen during manipulation of the throttle. So when the pilot actually moved the throttle from full open to idle on the 206, or from fly to idle on the 407. Reason for failure of the cable is caused by fatigue cracks. One big warning here: do not lubricate your cable. So you don't want to lubricate it, because what will happen is you'll lose the stiffness symptoms. So it's going to be a little bit easier to move, but you're actually hiding the issue. So also, if you lubricate your cable, you'll be increasing the degradation of the Teflon ball guide material, and you'll actually accelerate premature failure. So what you want to do, if it's starting to be stiff and you don't like it, you want to actually replace your cable. So the improved cable will supersede all older part numbers of cables. And a few improvement here is the added 2-inch linear transition, a rigid curve here, and you also have an additional 2 inches of cable length. And take note that this is not applicable to the 407 GXIs, because the 407 GXI actually had an LVDT, so a linear variable differential transducer, which is not susceptible to failure because it's actually not a mechanical cable. It's electrical control. 407 aircraft. Again, a lot of numbers on this slide. I won't go through all the numbers. Just take note that we have a little bit just over 1,700 aircrafts 407 built, with a little bit over 6 million flight hours, which is a lot of hours flown. The last 407 analog that was built is 54166, and the GXI serial number started at 54805. The highest time aircraft is 53190, who has just a little bit over 27,000 hours. And we're currently around 140 GXIs that have been built. So the 407 GXI, the latest in the 407 series. What we have here is a dual FedEx system aircraft for the Rolls-Royce M250 C47E/4 engine. The all-new Garmin NXI suite, providing faster processor speed and higher display resolution. As discussed earlier, we have an LVDT that replaces the Teleflex cable. We have a SOFA scavenger oil filter, replaces the CFA, so combined engine filter assembly. And we also no longer have any airframe fill filter because the filter is embedded into the FMU. 407 alert service bulletins, so the ASBs. First ASB on the 407 here is the one-time verification of the pilot cyclic control stick balance. So this one is applicable to 407 GXIs with the automatic flight control system. So pilot cyclic control stick balance was not obtainable with the published procedure from the maintenance manual. We have done a revision of the maintenance manual. We have improved the rigging instructions. We also clarified on the what is a properly balanced pilot cyclic control stick. So all the criteria are there. And also, there's also a requirement to do balance verification every time you install or remove dual controls. So then this is obtained by the balance spring adjustment and the cyclic minimum friction. I'll discuss, I have another slide of this one also. ASB for introduction of the new collective pitch transducer, so the 412-074, 101, 107. So this is a long investigation that Bell has done. We had some aircraft on the GXI that had engine parameters oscillation and also which were causing FADEC faults during flight. What this new CPT does here is actually removing the possibility of occurrence of FADEC faults and oscillation of the engine parameters. It's a new design collective pitch transducer. It replaces the Dash 103 transducer, and all instructions for replacement are covered in the ASB. So this is a long investigation that we've done, and this is actually the fix to this issue. The ASB for the tail boom, so the new airworthiness limitation schedule, so inspection requirement. This is actually an added zone to inspect. So the zone here, following an in-service crack on the tail boom lower skin, at the lower aft corner, left-hand cutout of the horizontal stab, so boom station 120.75. So as shown here, you're under the left-hand H stab, and the crack was actually found on the fastener hole here of the nut plate, and it was a result of fatigue. The ASB has an initial and recurrent inspection requirement. So first thing you want to do is identify your tail boom per the ASB table. There's actually 2 tables in the ASB. And then you want to do an initial inspection within 50 hours or 30 days following the release. And then you'll have a recurrent inspection, which is the detailed visual inspection using a magnifying glass and a bright light source. You're looking for cracks. This is recurrent every 100-hour or 300-hour, depending on your tail boom part number. So if you have the what we call the Dash 100 series, you'll do it every 100-hour. If you have the Dash 200 series, you'll do it every 300-hour. The requirement for this inspection have been added to the Chapter 4. So Chapter 4 has been revised. And again, it's just an additional zone that you need to inspect. We already have a few zones to inspect in Chapter 4 for both part numbers or series of film. So the ASB for the detailed visual inspection of the side body fairing fasteners. So again, Bell was made aware that during manufacturing, there was a potential of condition with the fasteners hole that could have been elongated. So on the left hand and right hand side body fairing. So there's 2 parts of the for this ASB. Part 1 is to go and inspect with a 10x magnifying glass and a bright light source within 60 days after release of the bulletin. You want to inspect the aft fuselage to cabin splice at fuselage station 155, so around here. And then you want to go and inspect the fastener around the lower shelf joint at fuselage station 121.4, so again around here. And the reason for that is the zone where the high loads are being carried out through this area. So this is part one. Part two, what you want to do is actually do a detailed visual inspection and general visual inspection of all fasteners on the left and right side body fairing. So this is within 300 hour or 12 month for the initial inspection, but it's also a repetitive inspection. You'll actually inspect all the fastener, and there's actually a few figures in the ASB that show every zone that has to be inspected. And this only affects a few serial number of aircraft. So make sure that you look at the ASB to know if you're affected. And we don't expect to have a high number of reported discrepancies. So, but if you do have any discrepancies that you find, please contact product support and send us the information what you have found on the aircraft. We collect data for that one. So the ASB for the inspection of upper left longeron. So this ASB has been out for quite a few years now. So it was originally released in 2011. It requires a visual inspection, required at the time a visual inspection of the aft fuselage top skin and specific areas of the fuselage. So you wanted to go look for cracks. The ASB has repair procedure for cracked longeron and installation of three-strap doubler. There's also an improved longeron that was released, so the Dash 237B, where you could install it with three external crest strap doublers, so around here again. So what revision D really does is it introduces the aft fuselage two-piece upper left longeron assembly, the 407, 060, 067, 105, via the TB 407, 12, 407, 17, 125. And this installation of that two-piece longeron is also the terminating action of the recurrent inspection of the ASB. So technical bulletins discussing about this two-piece upper left-hand longeron. So the TB here is the installation of this new two-piece longeron. You have the Dash 103 that exists for production aircraft, but if you're actually installing a new longeron in the field, you'll have what we call Dash 105, so for spare aircraft. The TB provides all instructions on how to install the new longeron. It also provides additional information concerning the combination or configuration that can exist with your aft fuselage bulkhead, so the back bulkhead, that can be installed in combination with the two-piece longeron. So you have all configuration that can exist. Some helicopters obviously will have the new longeron installed prior to delivery. So started at 54870, serial number 54877, and subsequent, these aircraft will have the new two-piece longeron installed. It is an option, customer option. But if you do install the two-piece longeron, one thing you want to be careful about is reading carefully the instruction of the TB. Reason for that is in the TB, we say to avoid installing or drilling in the last holes on the skin, because if you actually drill those holes, you'll be drilling into the longeron radius, and the longeron will need to be replaced. So what we're talking about is those holes here. If you're actually drilling here, you'll be drilling into your new longeron that you're installing. There's cautions into the TB. There's also a note that says that don't install the fastener, just put sealant in the holes. But this is a big one, guys. Make sure that you don't drill through it or you'll have to replace the new longeron that you're just trying to install. Installation of the aft fuselage bulkhead, so at fuselage station 231.4. So this TB was originally released a few years ago, where we introduced an improved machine aft fuselage bulkhead. So the bulkhead part number 407-030-027-101. That bulkhead is made out of aluminum with a thicker material in the bend radius for benefit and reliability, and it can be used on all 407 as a replacement. What revision 8 does here is it introduces a new machine aft fuselage bulkhead. So a new part number, the -107. This one has reinforced a thicker inside flange in the upper left area. So it's actually reinforced from around here to about here. It's a little bit thicker. The flange is a little bit thicker. It is a spare replacement on all 407. And again, it's customer option. If you have any issues with your bulkhead, this is a good option to install. 407 operational safety notice, so OSNs. So here again about the pilot cyclic control stick balance verification. This one is actually a reminder for 407 analog, 407 GX, GXP. Without the automatic flight control system, so the FCS, there is a requirement in the maintenance manual to every time that you remove or install the co-pilot cyclic stick, you need to do balance verification of the pilot control stick. So this has been in the maintenance manual for a while. This one is a reminder to do it. We also clarify what is a properly balanced stick. So when you move in any direction, the stick will remain stationary. How are you obtaining a properly balanced stick is with the adjustment of the cyclic longitudinal and lateral springs, the length, and also adjusting your cyclic friction. So this also we clarified in new revision. We're going to clarify it is required to have a hydraulic car to do this verification. Although we may have different options for you, please contact PSCs for more information. 407 information letters, so VILs. Main rotor blade trailing edge void gaps. So this is to inform all owners and operators that it is possible that you see a voids or gaps, which is on the trailing edge of some main rotor blades. So it's not all main rotor blades, but some -137 blades may have this gap. So what you're looking for is, again, at the trailing edge gaps like this. If you see them during a scheduled or periodic inspection, they can be repaired with the 407 maintenance manual. We actually have the DMC, applicable DMC for repair of the blades on this slide. If you have any questions, obviously you can contact our product support and we'll get you through that. Information letter here for the TCCA, the AMOC, so Global Alternate Mean of Compliance to the Airworthiness Directive, so the ADCF 2011-42R1, the fuselage longeron cracking. So this one kind of goes with the ASB that I've previously discussed and the two TBs. So following the release of revision D of the ASB, Transport Canada actually revised their airworthiness directive. The terminating action of the AD was to install the upper left longeron assembly, the -237B per TB 407-1296. So, like I said, the AD has been revised, providing an alternate mean of compliance, which is to install the new two-piece left longeron, the -105 per TB 407-17-125, or for aircraft that are leaving production, you can the -103 upper left longeron is also meets the intent of the terminating action of the AD Part 4. So this is just a revision and advisory that there's an alternate mean of compliance for that AD. So make sure that you look into that. 407 maintenance tips. So this one is a tail rotor observation. It's not a requirement to do this, but if you're doing maintenance or you're in the hangar and you happen to turn your tail rotor blade and you see that it is turning clockwise, but when you go in the opposite direction, you're not able to turn it. What you want to do is actually contact Rolls-Royce. This could be an indication that you have carbon buildup in your number 6 and 7 Labyrinth seals. Another check that you can do is you can actually reach into the engine and try to turn the 4th stage turbine wheel by hand. And again, if you're unable to do that, it's another indication that you may have carbon buildup. I have a little video here that kind of shows it. So as you can see on the video, the guy is able to turn in the clockwise direction, but it won't actually turn counterclockwise. Again, there's no requirement to do this check, but if you happen to have this observation with your aircraft, what you want to do is contact Rolls-Royce. They actually have cleaning procedures that you can do, but in some occasion you actually have to remove your engine. 407 improvements. So the 407 health and usage monitoring system, so the HUM system, it's been out for approximately 2.5 years. It is a Bell STC, so approved on the GX, GXP, GXI. The kit is below 10 pounds. It's low cost and easy to use interfaces. It's all web-based, automatic transfer of the data on the web. You can do some track and balance with the kit. You can see exceedances. Let's say your pilot exceeds the 140 knots D&E. Well, obviously, you'll receive an alert from the system. And you also have all your health indicators and component indicators for all your components on your aircraft. So basically, you can monitor your whole aircraft with this kit. If you are interested in purchasing a kit, the kit is sold through Aeronautical Accessories, so feel free to contact them directly for pricing. The 407 GXI Single Pilot Instrument Flight Rule Kit. So SPIFR. This is a kit that's now available. Some operators actually have it installed now. What it includes is a second generator and a generator control unit. You have additional cooling ducts, second pedostatic system, added differential power turbine distribution buses for critical systems. Retrofit is required for the Garmin 1050H display upgrade, and requires the 3rd axis autopilot, and also Garmin software is involved. There's a few prerequisites to the kit. So what you'll need to have prior to installing the kit, you'll need to have a Bell autopilot 2-axis AFCU, the also addition of the 3rd axis, the mid-continent MD302 standby altitude module, radar altimeter, the GRA 55, and the standard Gill Teledyne sealed lead acid 28 amp battery kit. The kit is sold through, well, you can contact our sales representative for pricing if you're interested. As I said, there's a few operators that have installed the new SPIFR kit, and I believe it is an added value to your aircraft. 505 aircraft. A little bit of a fleet status. So we have so far 342 505 that have been manufactured. Out of those, there's 293 that are flying. And the fleet hours is actually a little bit more than 78,000 hours, which is growing up quite fast. The highest time 505 is 65102, which has a little bit more than $2,400. 505 alert service bulletins, so the ASBs. So this one is for the inspection of Genesis third axis autopilot installation, so for possible chafing with the tail rotor control cable. So we have received a report from the field of tail rotor control cable that was chafing with a roller bracket. So you're in this area of the aircraft, so on the back here, and this is your actual bracket, and here is your cable. As you can see in this picture, there's a little bit of chafing that has occurred, and it's actually chafing on this bracket. So an inspection of the cable for possible chafing is actually required. This is an advanced ASB for or advanced communication for Genesis. It is an STC. The autopilot is an STC on the 505, but Bell decided to go and actually advance the inspection. It is a 25-hour or 30-day requirement. And again, it's only aircraft that have the Genesis third axis autopilot. Take note, there's that little bracket here, there's adjustment, slightly small adjustment that is available. So this is one thing that you'll be doing. And we're actually working with the vendor for additional improvement. So we may come up with a different bracket, which will have a little bit more of a gap here to prevent any chafing. So ASB here for the addition of fuel cell vent pre-flight inspection. So we have received reports of fuel cell vent fitting that was damaged. What it was doing is creating an airflow vacuum from the fuel cell, and you had false indication or fluctuation of your fuel indication, which is proportional to the airspeed. So the fuel cell is actually collapsing, and then you have a higher fuel quantity indication than what you actually have. And this can also create a delayed activation of the low fuel line. So what the ASB requires is within 45 days, it adds a pre-flight check in the rotorcraft flight manual. So it's just a small check for condition and security of your vent. You want to look at the orientation of your vent, make sure that it is facing forward. And also the ASB requires that you familiarize your crew with inspect the check condition of security criteria for any pilots and any crew that do DIs on your aircraft. We also added additional description in the manufacturer data manual. So a little bit more description in there for specific to this fuel cell vent. ASB here for the reduction of the right-hand lateral center of gravity. So we've discovered during flight testing activities that there was a potential to run out of the left-hand cyclic travel when right lateral center of gravity was greater than 2.5 inches. So this is really when you're loading your aircraft, you have a configuration to extreme ends of the flight envelope. So what the ASB does here, it actually reduces the right-hand lateral CG limit, and we're doing that by we're also adding a decal below the center of the multifunction display, and there's also a flight manual version that comes with it. So again, make sure that your pilot is aware. This has to be done within 45 days after release of the ASB. The ASB for introduction of the additional air conditioning tube clamps. So this is specific to aircraft that have the par avion air conditioning system. We have discovered that it was possible that chafing occurred between the 505 harness and the cargo hook release cable. Obviously, chafing will lead to wear. What the ASB does is actually adds additional clamps here. And before adding the clamps, you want to make sure that you inspect and you do any repairs that may be required in accordance with the chafing control guide or the electrical standard practice manual. This affects all Pervion air conditioning kit, and it has to be complied within the next scheduled 300-hour flight hour inspection. So one-time inspection of the engine oil filter. So during a routine inspection of the engine oil filter and change of the oil, particles were found in the oil filter. So after an investigation from Bell and Safran, it revealed that the particles were non-magnetic, and most likely these particles came from the manufacturing process of the oil tank, so directly from manufacturing. There's actually two ASBs that are related to this filter with the chips in it. The first one is 505-2122. This ASB introduced a one-time inspection of your filter. What you want to do is inspect for particles, and if you do find any particles, what you want to do is flush your oil component. And also, next thing is to refer to the Safran service bulletin, so the SB 31979 4847, which has all actions required in regards to the engine if particles are found. There's also in the bulletin identification of the type of particle that may have been found. The other SB that kind of relates to this subject is 505-2123, but this one is really just a cover ASB to achieve the complete distribution of the Safran SB. So we just want to make sure that all our customers are aware of the Safran service bulletin. So the ASB for the 505 installation of the sump drain fitting grommet. So during drop tests, we discovered that the addition of a split plastic grommet interface to the airframe cutout where the sump drain fitting passes through. So this area here, adding a split plastic grommet was actually adding safeguard to the integrity of the installation in case of an impact. So really what you want to do is just add the little grommet here, or the split plastic grommet. One thing that you want to make sure is that you put the split line at the 12 o'clock. And again, this is just addition of safeguard in case you have an impact with your aircraft. So the ASB for the one-time detailed inspection of the pilot collective stick, and grip assembly. This really happened more in March this year. We had received reports of the collective stick assembly that actually broke above the cabin floor at the junction with the collective jackshaft. At that time, the ASB required a one-time inspection for crack using a 10x magnifying glass, and then you had to perform an FPI if a crack was found or suspected. There has been a few revisions of the ASB. Revision C here, what it does is it introduces part 3, which is the incorporation of the pilot collective stick upgrade procedure per the vendor instructions, and it is considered the terminating action of the ASB. This ASB obviously had a TCCA AD that relates to it, and also an FAA AD, and there's actually 2 information letters that have been published on the subject. One thing to note is that with this ASB, Bell had added a retirement life to the collective stick tube. So initial retirement life was 300 hours, but since then it has now been increased, and it is published. Retirement life of the tube is now 6,250 hours. And this actually shows the crack that had been found at the time. So within where the scallop hole here, and you can actually see the crack. And the fix to that is really an internal doubler that we're putting inside the tube, which provides additional strength to the bottom, specifically where the scallop hole is. 505 technical bulletins, TBs. So the first TB here is the improve of the restraint assembly, so the -109 restraint assembly. We have received reports, and we still receive reports on occasion, of premature wear of the bearing MS 14101-14. These bearings are installed in the -109 restraint assembly. So what the TB does is actually releases an improved bearing, so the 11-14277P, which is manufactured by SKF. And then with the TB, once you've complied with it, it actually re-identifies your restraint assembly to -115 FM, the 115 being the latest configuration of restraint that exists. If you comply with the TB, it actually, the benefit of complying with it, I guess, is an increase in your inspection interval. The -109 has a 50-hour, 1-year inspection interval, while the -115, the inspection is actually 300-hour, 1 year. It is a customer option, and if you have a -109 restraint, we actually provide new restraints under warranty if your aircraft is still covered. But if your aircraft is no longer covered under warranty, this TB is a great option for you to actually modify your restraint assembly in your of replacing the whole assembly. TB 505, the introduction of a new engine oil tank, so the SLS 065 100-65. So we have released an ESB 505 2015 that was affecting the engine oil tank, the -037 oil tanks, because we had reported cracks in the bend ridges of mounting attachments on some flanges. So all those 3 flanges here, we had cracks reported on the flange. This TB actually introduces a new engine oil tank, so the -65, which eliminates the residual stress condition of the oil tank flanges, so less stress at the flanges here. And it also meets the intent of the ESB Part 4, so the terminating action. Terminating action, if you have the -037, is actually an FPI inspection, but if you install a new tank, you don't have to do that. It also provides a new side class marking update with the new max and minimum level line. So it's replacing the add 1 core decal that used to be on the -037 tanks. The TB also provides instruction if you have the -037 tanks to install this decal with the new min max level. Take note that aircraft serial number 65345 and subs will have the new tank installed from factory. 505 information letters, ILs. So this is a global alternate mean of compliance, so an AMOC for the airworthiness ED 2021-0606. So we have received a few inquiries from operators with regards to the applicability of the ED once the pilot stick was modified. So what this information letter here does, it says that following the release of the FAA ED, Bell has received a global AMOC. The AMOC is actually attached to the information letter, so if you need it, you can go to the information letter and get the AMOC, and it is considered a terminating action for the inspection in the FAA ED. Information letter here for the cyclic and collective boosted belt crank and link spherical bearing upgrade initiative. So we have received quite a few reports of premature wear of the spherical bearing, which is installed in the cyclic and collective boosted belt crank. As you can see on the picture here, the bearing is really damaged. What you see is brinelling here. Although the bearing does have actual and radial play limit, brinelling is not really something that's accepted. From now on, well, in the past, all bear cranks were supplied under warranty. But again, here, if your aircraft is outside the warranty period, we have a new option. You can actually upgrade your bell crank with the new bearings, which are less, well, are not prone to as much damage or wear. One thing to note here is that what you'll need to do is send your bell cranks to the bell MRO, so an approved facility. All approved bell MRO facilities are listed in the information letter. And this is really bringing your older Dash 041 bell cranks to the latest configurations of the Dash 043 bell cranks. Information letter here, the pulley assembly 505 AC 3200-31. So lubrication interval. So this is for aircrafts that have the air conditioning kit. We have received reports of corrosion on the adapter spline, as you can see on the picture here. After an investigation, it revealed that the loss of lubrication over a specific period was the potential cause, specifically if you're operating in dry and hot atmospheric condition. So if you are, make sure that you're following the proper maintenance requirements of the 300-hour 1-year greasing. Make sure that you use proper grease. You can also decrease your greasing interval if you're in dry and hot atmospheric condition. This is always a good practice. And the grease you want to use is the C561. And as an alternate, you can use the C525 or C452. So make sure you grease your adapters properly. You really don't want to have as much corrosion damage on your adapters. 505 improvements. So the new pilot movable ballast kit. So this kit has been released now. It's available. And what it does, it really provides the pilot with full range mission for mission-specific CG management. So the pilot can actually manage its CG within different flights of the same mission. So the installation is done through the II-21. And what actually happens is that the ballast is moved between the cabin and the tailbone. So you have a box here just beside the pilot, so on the right-hand side of the aircraft, where you have weights. And you also have another box at the end of the tailbone at the rotor gearbox location where you have weights also. And what the pilot can do, he can actually take weight from here and move it in front, depending on the CG that is required for his specific flight. So this is a great kit. Again, it's available. It is certified. If you're interested, contact us for pricing. So 429 aircraft. A little bit of a fleet status here. We have 402 aircraft in service, 429 in service. We recently delivered the 400 429 to the Canadian Coast Guard. So they now have a total of 16 429 flying for the CCG. Really proud of that. And that's it. 429 alert service bulletins, ASBs. So first ASB here is for the inspection of the main rotor transmission gear shaft. So the 427, 040, 113, 103, and 111. So what happened here is during production, there was abnormal noise experience on the gearbox. Bell decided to remove the transmission and return it to the supplier for a teardown investigation. And what was found is excessive wear of the helicoil teeth of the gear shaft. So this is your gear shaft here. You have one here, you have another one on the other side. And what happens is some gear shaft have improper helicoil gear tooth spacing. So the spacing is not correct. It is a quality escape affecting 37 gearboxes. So transmission -121, more specifically the -103 and -111 gear shafts. During the inspection, what will happen is, depending on what is found, will determine if the ball gear, so your big gear here, can remain in service. This only affects about 12 aircrafts. Table 1 list of the ASB lists all affected transmission assemblies. The big thing here is that the operator will have to remove his transmission, send it to Bell, to a Bell-approved MRO facility. The transmission will be disassembled, and then the gear shafts will be removed and either sent to our facility in Fort Worth or our supplier for measurement of the spacing. With the results, we'll determine if the gear shaft are serviceable or not. And then if they are serviceable, they'll be returned to the MRO facility. The ball gear will remain in service. If they're not, well then, depending on the inspection criteria, again, the ball gear may remain in service, but may have to be replaced. So this is a big ASB for us. A lot of coordination is required, obviously. And again, it's only affecting a few aircraft. So look at the ASB for if your aircraft is affected or not. So ASB inspection of swash plate input tube and the -101 and -107. So we have received reports of swash plate cyclic input tube exhibiting corrosion indication. So it identified as stress corrosion cracking in the swage portion of the aluminum loop tube near the rod. So we have found corrosion here near the rod, but it can actually affect the whole rod. What you want to do is a detailed inspection of the cyclic input tube assembly. Initial is after 12 months or recurring, and also recurrent after 12 months. Here, there's a little bit of something that you need to be aware is the inspection. If your aircraft has more than 12 months since time in service, or if it's more than 12 months since the last 2 years inspection, you'll actually have to comply with the CSB within 50 hours or 12 months. If it's less than 12 months in service, well, you'll do it at the first 12 months. What you want to do is examine for corrosion damage, crack, wear, mechanical damage, excessive axial play of the rod end bearing, and then you'll replace or repair as required. We are collecting data, so if anything that you find on your rod ends or your input tubes, make sure that you send them to Bell, and with the data, we may eventually have a terminating action for the ASB. ASB here, the one-time inspection of the main rotor pitch change upper retention bolt, so the 2114 C5P47ED. We have received a report on non-conformance of the bolts installed in the main rotor pitch change link on the upper side, so this side here. The non-conformance was for a greater grip length than specification, which result that the nut can bottom out on the grip, and then you have improper clamp up of your assembly. Take note that there's 2 different part numbers of bolt that may be installed. So what you want to do is actually go and identify the bolt that is installed. The manufacturer that has the defect has a P symbol on the bolt head. And then what you'll do, you'll actually inspect for nicks, wear, step, deep scratches, and your discard or replace discrepant bolts. You'll also want to inspect your main rotor grip horn bushings for excessive wear or any damage. If the bushing are outside of the inspection criteria, you'll need to send the grip to Bell for any repair. Make sure that you report any discrepant bolt to PSC. Again, we're kind of collecting data for that. ESB, the introduction of the 429, 523-101-103 and 532-101 and 183 bell crank assembly schedule inspection. So this is actually a revision to the ESB that was initially released, where you have a static and in-flight precipitation pooling effect on the forward roof structure, which is contaminating the collective and cyclic bell crank pivot bearings. So what you actually want to do is check for freedom of rotation of all the bearings every 6 months, and you have the TB that you can comply with for a terminating action. What revision C here does is it corrects the helicopter's affected section, it updates the description, and also revises the accomplishment instructions. It also mandates the compliance with the TB, which was originally an option. And talking about the TB here, the TB is actually the upgrade of the bell crank assemblies with the new crest bearings. So revision B of the TB mandates again the replacement with the crest bearings per the ESB 429-1521. This has to be complied with within 24 months of issuance of your ESB. So all those bearings here will actually need to be replaced with the new bearings. ESB here for the inspection of tail rotor blade, the -105 tail rotor blade. So we had a revision A of the ESB. The revision A changes the affected serial numbers following a third report of skin crack on helicopters that were outside of the serial number range of the original release of the ESB. We decided to do a revision. What you want to do is inspect the blade and historical record to determine if your blade is affected. Make sure you consult the ESB for affected blades. All blades that beginning with A or BH prefix preceding those that have the VL are affected. You have to do in the inspection a general visual inspection of all four blades for cracks within 50 hours and every 50 hours until your blade has reached 300 hours. If it's the first time that you've complied with this ESB and your blade actually has more than 300 hours, you'll do a one-time inspection. If you have already inspected your blades with the original release of the ESB, it already meets the intent of the revision A. One-time inspection here of the main rotor transmission debris pan. So it's just a 25-hour inspection of the mass bearing chip detector where you'll go in the mass bearing chip detector location to inspect the orientation of your debris pan. So you will actually want to go here, remove your chip detector, and with a borescope, try to see if you can see the debris pan. If you can't, well, what you'll need to do is you'll need to actually disassemble and remove the mass assembly, and you'll have additional inspection required on the mass spline and debris pans. So this was prompt after a mistake that was found in figure 1 of the maintenance manual. It was actually showing the debris pan as being installed 120 degrees from its correct position. And the results for that is that you may not have lubrication of the oil being supplied to the mass chip detector and mass spline from the number 13 jet. So it's really a clarification of the 429 maintenance manual. if you have not removed your mask since delivery of your aircraft, so since manufacture, you do not have to comply with this ASB. Here we have the inspection of the tail rotor gearbox support retaining rivets. So there has been a few revisions of this ASB. When it was originally released, it required to inspect the tail boom for working, sheared, or missing rivet at the tail boom to tail rotor gearbox support. So here, what you actually want to do is visual inspection, and you also want to go and look inside the tail boom with bright light source, and you want to also do a tactile check. Revision A was introducing a repetitive inspection every 400 hour or 12 months, and revision B actually adjusted the compliance every 100 hour or 6 months upon reaching the 300 hour time since new, and also clarifies also addition of clarification within the accomplishment text, so how to comply with the ASB. ASB for tail rotor pitch link bearing inspection and upgrade. So this one is really the modification of the pitch link, the dash 101, 103 for the 112 series, and with the bearing 429, 312, 107, 103, which has a 50-hour recurrent inspection requirement per the ASB and a TCC AD. So what revision C does here, it introduces part 3, which is determining action of the recurrent inspection of the ASB and the AD. And you do that by the installation of a tail rotor pitch link assemblies, the dash 105 and 107. Although you install those pitch link, they do have a repetitive inspection, but the first inspection is at 400 hour times it's new. And then the inspection will be repetitive every 200 hours. Take note that intermix of both part numbers of pitch link is permitted, but this new pitch link provides a little bit of improve of the bearing itself. 429 technical bulletins, so TBs. So first TB here is for the fuel vent. So forward fuel vent relocation. It is possible to relocate the forward vent from the left to the right-hand side of the forward cowlings. There's actually 2 fuel vent relocation customizing kit that exists, depending if your aircraft is equipped with air conditioning or if it is without air conditioning. And this really helps with some customers that had issues with some instance of fuel smell in the cabin. It is really a minor retrofit work that is required here. So if you are interested, again, this is a TB that's available. 429 information letters. So this is a really good one. So inspection of main rotor blade ground strap, the 429 015 021 101. So we have received reports, and we still receive reports concerning the disbond condition of the main rotor blade ground strap, so the bonding clips. So this strap here, there's actually 3 types of disbonding or condition that can happen. The type 1 is completely detached from your main rotor blade, so as shown here on picture number 1. There's no field repairable. It's not field repairable. The blade will need to be sent to an authorized blade repair facility, and even the repair facility won't do any field repairs for this specific condition. Type 2 is partially detached at the silver soldering location. So as you can see on picture 2, filler gauge can be inserted a little bit under the bonding clip. We have a temporarily field repair that could be possible depending on how much it is this bonding. So what you'll need to do is contact Bell Product Support with all the details of the defect, and then we'll advise if it is repairable or not. Type 3 is really this bond between the ground strap and the compression block. So as shown on figure 3 here. We have a field repair procedure for this one. Contact Bell product support and we'll provide that to you. Information letter here for the introduction of the Bell MissionLink website and MissionLink Edge software. This has been out for about a year now. All Bell 429s that are HUMS equipped. We have replaced the old BHVM website with a new Bell MissionLink website. It has improved capabilities to review your data. We have adjusted thresholds in there. You can also submit any inquiries that you may have, or any CIs, alerts that you want a product support to look at. You can submit an inquiry directly from the MissionLink website. One thing to note here is that you'll also need the MissionLink Edge software on your ground station, so on your laptop, which is the application that actually connects the PCGBS software, so which collects the data from the aircraft to the MissionLink website, where you can actually see the data. You really need the MissionLink Edge software installed and functioning to be able to see the data on the MissionLink web. 429 improvements. So the tail rotor flapping bearing here, we have a lead the fleet. It's been out for quite a while now. This is following reports, so field reports on the current configuration, which has a longevity issue, so bearing not lasting as expected. We're testing a new configuration, and this configuration aims to reduce the loads and increase the bearing longevity. So really the end cap is designed a little bit different. So this is the current configuration, and the new configuration a little bit different. You have like rubber material here holding the bearing on each side. So again, this is a lead the fleet that we're doing. It's actually being tested, and once we have all the results, we'll see if we can actually release this new modification. 429 maintenance tips. So main rotor yokes, we do receive on occasion reports of cracks in the inboard radius of the main rotor hub yokes. So inside here, there's no repair criteria in the published maintenance manual. So what you'll need to do is send the information to Bell Product Support Engineering. So what we need is, you need first to sand down the paint down to the fiberglass so we can actually see the damage or the crack. Then you'll need to locate your crack with station 00, which is the center of the yoke, and indicate if it's on the upper or lower surface of the yoke. Then measure your length, crack length, submit all the information with really good pictures. Pictures are really good for us, they help a lot. Submit them to Product Support Engineering, and we'll determine if it can be repaired or not. And basically, you'll know if you can remain in service, if the yoke can remain in service or not. 429 aircraft washing, so water in the avionic compartment. So this is really a reminder. You have this big hole on the side of the aircraft. Before you wash your aircraft, you want to make sure that you cap this opening, because what you have on the other side is actually your avionic components. Also, if you do cap the hole, you want to make sure that you remove everything that is capping the hole prior to next flight, obviously, because you don't want to cause this. If you put tape on there, you don't want it to cause any FOD damage. Main rotor mast nut removal. So we have this reported on occasion that it's hard to break the torque on the main rotor mast nut. This is caused by cadmium plating on the nut and the mast rolling up during installation. So as you can see on the picture here, a little bit of roll up of the cad plating. Obviously, you want to use 3,000 foot-pound capable torque multiplier. That's going to help. We have the specific part number from Advanced Torque Products on the slide. A few tips here. You want to use a heat gun. So applying heat will actually help a lot. And another tip here is to put your torque multiplier on your mass nut, let it sit for an hour or more if required, and this will actually help in breaking the torque of your mass nut. So if you want to have any additional information in regards to this, you can contact product engineering and we'll guide you with that. Now, this being said, it's now time for the question period.